Alright everybody, here we are for the last pack of the Red Sand cycle, Crimson Dust, which is just kind of another way to say Red Sands. But anyway, let's get on to the cards. So right off the bat, we have a real doozy of a card. This one was spoiled a while ago, so we all saw this coming. But this is Mining Accident. It's a 2-cost event, 2 influence. Play only if you made a successful run on a central server this turn. The corp gets to either pay 5 credits or take a bad publicity, and remove Mining Accident from the game instead of trashing it. Okay, so let's just get this out of the way and address the gigantic elephant in the room. And, I don't like repeating material, but what else am I supposed to say about this? Roll the clip.
I can still see.
And yeah, there's no denying this is going to be a super powerful card that you will absolutely see lots of people playing, and provides an enormous amount of threat to the corp. So if Temujin Contract wasn't enough reason to ice all 3 centrals as soon as humanly possible, this is even more. So yeah, now one thing, the remove it from the game instead of trashing it, thank friggin' God that is on this card. Thank you so much for starting to do that. Because this being spammed would be absolute Satan. Now, given that you can't spam it though, you put 3 copies in a deck, because if you run this, you are running all 3 copies. So on an average game against a deck that runs this, you will probably have to make the decision of losing credits or taking bad pub once or twice, because there's a good chance they won't find all 3 copies throughout the course of the game. If you can't pay the 5, you do have to give them the bad pub, and 1 bad pub isn't the end of the world, especially if they had to pay through some ice to put it down. But obviously the big fear is that either stacking bad pub or losing a buttload of credits to this. So yeah, I mean, I've tested it out a little bit on JNX. It is available to be put on there, and it's a very strong card, sure, but against a corp that's filthy rich, it actually isn't that great, because if you can quickly recover the 5 credits, you just lose the 5. So against a corp deck that has strong, consistent economy, it's actually not that great. If you have a way to remove bad publicity, it's obviously a much worse card, but yeah, there's no 2 ways about this. This is something that you will have to deal with in the coming meta after rotation. You will be encountering siphon spam Mining Accident decks. Be prepared to deal with that. Get your Chrysium grids out, ice the shit out of HQ and your centrals as soon as humanly possible. This might end up going on the MWL later on down the road, maybe, can't promise it, but we'll see. I'm not terrified of this card, but it is something we will have to deal with, so be on guard for this after this next pack comes out. After that, we've got Artificial Red Blood Cell. This is a 0-cost, 3-influence hardware. When you install it, you suffer a meat damage. The first time you have 0 cards in your hand each turn, draw a card and place a power counter on it. When there are 3 or more power counters on it, trash it. So this is more support for that self-damaging Clan Vengeance deck, but this one's really not very good. Best case scenario, it powers your Clan Vengeance for 1 damage and draws you 3 cards for 0 cost. So kind of sort of like a Clan Vengeance deck Diesel, I guess, except that it's very, very specific and it takes a lot of time. You have to have exactly 0 cards in your hand, which is going to be really obnoxious. So it's not worth it. Just put in injects, and I've had worse, and other things. This is not a reliable draw engine. It really isn't. And last for Anarch, we've got Retrieved Arsenal of Vanadis. Wow, I thought this was a cyberpunk game. They're going all LARPy on us here with the names. This is a unique, 0-cost clan resource trash it. The corp trashes the top X cards of R&D. X is the amount of damage you suffered this turn. Use this ability only after suffering damage. So just like the last card, this is yet more support for that Clan Vengeance self-damage deck, but it's also not really that great. I mean, it sounds good at first. It is 0 cost and it mills the corp a couple of cards, but this can only be used after you suffer damage, and it's for the amount of damage that you suffered. And that whole Clan Vengeance deck typically only hurts itself like 1 or 2 damage at a time. Which means for this to mill more than like 1 or 2 cards, you need to like eat a Scorched Earth or a Boom or something. And no, you cannot prevent the damage with, Mercs or Plascree or whatever and still get the mill. You have to actually take the damage. So most of the time this is only going to result in like 1 or 2 mills that you did from damage that you did to yourself. That being said, it is another clan resource, so maybe in that self-damage deck it would be a reason to put Mars for Martians in as a draw engine, because now there's more clan resources you can put down. So if you have like 3 different clan resources down, now Mars for Martians is just straight up diesel. So it might be worth it for that, maybe, but you're not going to get very big mills out of this. This is going to be a little bit of extra milling on the side, sort of like a spoiler, I guess, but with a little bit more usefulness. So, I don't know, maybe you put it in that self-damage deck, maybe it's not worth it, I don't know, but neither of these cards, while they're meant for that deck, aren't particularly good. So, alright, after that for Criminal, we've got a new AI. This is Almakua. It's 3 cost, 0 strength, 1 influence, Icebreaker AI Virus. Whenever you expose a card or you access 1 or more cards without trashing or stealing any of them, place 1 virus counter on it. It has +1 strength for each virus counter on it, and 1 credit, break a sub. Aw, look at the cute little turtle. He's so... No. No, you stop that right now. That movie sucks. Change it immediately in video. I swear to God, I will make you a 10-hour hamster dance loop. That's better. Anywho, this is actually kind of an interesting card, and there's a number of things to point out about it. So, first of all, let's just address AIs in Criminal, which, like we just got Mammon not too long ago, and again, like I said back then, giving good AIs to Criminal is very, very dangerous ground, because you don't want to give criminals super easy access to consistent siphons super early in the game. But much like what they did with Mammon, I think what they did with the turtle here is how you should handle AIs for Criminal. They are conditional, being either really expensive or needing a bunch of counters, but because they take time to build up, you can't surprise people with them. So they can be really efficient, really useful, but you can't just slap one down and start siphoning someone's face off, as soon as possible. Your opponent gets a chance to react. Besides that, it does function off card exposing, which I'm sure means that a handful of people will try to make a silhouette deck with this work, and I wish I could be one of them, but Silhouette's ID ability is just not going to be enough to power this card. It just isn't. If they print more exposed support, I would love to see a good, solid Silhouette deck using this card. But until then, it's just not going to be enough. However, that Aurvar Snitch deck, the other thing is it is a 1 influence virus, so I'm quite certain there's something Noise can do with this. And the other thing to point out is that its trigger to put virus counters on it is the same trigger as Aeneas Informant. So as far as dealing with asset spam after rotation things happen, it actually means that Criminal now has a pretty reasonably good answer to asset spam. So if you're running Aeneas Informant, Desperado, Amakua in your deck, now if the corp is doing asset spam, you can run an open pad campaign or whatever and simultaneously make a buttload of money while dumping counters on this icebreaker. So if you're playing criminal and you're just running one of these in your deck and Aeneas Informant, if you're against an asset spam deck, not only can you get through ice super fast, but you can make a buttload of money while doing it. So it gives you a pretty reasonable counterplay to asset spam without really warping your deck all that much. So yeah, it's an interesting card. I don't think it's going to take anything over by storm, but I think the decks that can make use out of it are going to like it a lot. Plus, again, anti-asset spam in the future, this is a pretty good contender. After that, we've got Caldera, which is a 3-cost, 1-influence virtual resource. 3 credits, prevent 1 net or brain damage. So it's a criminal feedback filter. That's about it. I mean, that's not a bad thing, but what do you expect me to tell you? Like, whatever you think about feedback filter, just copy paste it to this. Yeah. Alright, then for Shaper, we've got an event. This is Diana's Hunt. It's 4-cost, 4-influence. It says make a run. Whenever you encounter a piece of ice during this run, install a program from your grip, ignoring all costs. When the run ends, trash all programs you installed using Diana's Hunt. And this is actually pretty bad. I mean, maybe you could use it to, like, slam down a femme fatale for cheap early on and then clone ship it back later or something. But, like, outside of the perfect scenario where you have, like, your entire rig in your hand and, like, I don't know, like 3 sacrificial constructs down so you can prevent the trashing when you install them, then this just isn't very good. It just really isn't. If you're trying to play super expensive breakers, rather than having this and SatCon and whatever else down, you could just have economy cards and moddeds and things like that to help get them down easier. So, like, yeah, maybe someone can try to jank something out with this, but it's really just not that great. After that, we've got another new Shaper event. This is Reformation, 3-cost, 4-influence, swap 2 pieces of non-res dice. And honestly, this one's not very good either. Mostly just because it says unresed ice. If this said resed ice, it could actually be kind of nifty. You can get away with some silly shit with it. But the fact that the ice has to be unresed, you're literally just guessing. Which means that you have no real idea what the point of that card is doing, unless you have like an expose effect or you like de-resed it or something. But those are criminal effects, not Shaper effects. And like, you're not going to put this for 4-influence. You're not putting this in a criminal deck. So I mean, and even putting like criminal de-res cards into a Shaper deck, you're probably not going to do for the amount of influence you'd have to spend. So yeah, it's really just the fact that it says unresed kneecaps this card pretty hard. So, next. And last up for Shaper, we've got Dummy Box. It's a 1-cost resource for 2 influence. Trash a card from your grip. Prevent an installed card of the same type from being trashed by the corp. And this might actually be useful. I mean, it's really like a niche counter card, really. It's not something you would put in every deck, but it's something you would put in like for a meta that has lots of trashing effects by the corp. But it might be decent in the right meta. It could actually get some use. Trashing a card from your grip is a high cost. Like if you're just trying to prevent program trashing, like just use Sacrificial Construct. But it can however, it can also protect any kind of card. So if you have like a blue moose down and a spare any other resource in your hand and they try to trash the blue moose, you could save the blue moose, and then the card you trashed you feed to the blue moose, which is kind of funny. Maybe in like an Anarch deck that isn't running the Conspiracy Breakers, this might be a way to help prevent your programs from getting trashed. Because like, say you've got a spare Data Sucker in your hand, yeah, just toss that and prevent your Mimic from getting blown up, and then you can deja vu the Data Sucker back later if you need it, because it's a virus. It's not fantastic, but in the right meta, this might find a spot as a tech card. So we'll see. And for the final runner neutral card of Red Sands, it is Corporate Defectors. This is a zero-cost, zero-influence connection resource. Whenever the corp spends a click to draw a card, not through a card ability, reveal that card. And oh boy, I want to like this card so bad. I really, really do. There's an ongoing debate between me and one of my friends about how good this card will actually be. I think it will be. He thinks it won't. But like honestly, I feel like this is going to end up being 46th card syndrome. Like it's a card that you really want to put in, but deck slots often just won't allow it. So I feel like this is going to be a card that everyone wants to play, but just can't quite fit in. My friend argues that because the corp gets their passive draw, they're not going to click to draw anywhere near as much as the runner, which is true, and also that clicking for draws the corp really sucks, which is also kind of true. But I think the best place this card would be in a really aggressive runner control deck, so something like a Siphon Spam deck that tries to put the corp in as bad of a position as possible. Because if the corp is in a really crappy place, if you put them in a really tough situation, then they will very likely have to click to draw to get the card they need to get out of that situation. And in that case, like, holy crap, how would you like to know exactly when the corp drew an agenda? Like, that's pretty freaking nice. For a zero-cost card that's always out, how would you like to know exactly when there's an agenda in the corp's hand, especially if you're playing, Siphon Spam Criminal and you've got access to legworks and things like that? I think that's pretty freaking cool. Now, granted, it doesn't work when you draw through card abilities, so perhaps right now it's not that great, but after Jackson is gone, aka one of the most used corp draw ability cards in the game, after Jackson is gone and there's way less drawing cards for the corp to use, this thing's value will shoot up a little bit. So I will definitely be playtesting this. I'm hoping it's as good as I think it is, but I don't know. I think maybe in that super aggressive like Siphon Spam Mining Accident deck or something, this could be a solid include. Outside of that, probably 46th card syndrome or something. So yeah, in a slower runner deck, this is terrible. Yeah, I really, really want to like this card. I really do. We'll see. All right, now on to corp cards. First up for HB, we've got a new 4/2 agenda, CFC Excavation Contract. It says when you score it, gain 2 credits for each rezzed Bioroid. And hey, solid card. I mean, after Project Vitruvius rotates out, HB is going to have to pick some 4/2s to replace it. This is a pretty solid pick. If you're not doing the successful field test acid spam moons cancer, then this is not bad. I mean, it's at the very least, it's very, very easy for this to just pay for the cost it took to advance it. And late game, this could easily give you a profit, especially in that Architects of Tomorrow deck, where late game you've literally got like 10 Bioroids rezzed. So, yeah, nice card. After that, we've got MCA Austerity Policy. This is a 1 to res, 3 to trash unique asset for 3 influence. Click, place 1 power counter on it. When the runner's next turn begins, he or she loses a click. Use this ability only once per turn. And click trash 3 counters, gain 4 clicks. And, oh boy, I can just smell the degeneracy coming off of this card. Just, At another time, it might have been totally fine. After all, you obviously do have 3 turns to trash it as the runner. But remember, this is an age when we have things like Waroid Tracker and Friends in High Places and Mumbad Virtual Tour and yeah, just we all know what's going to happen with this card, and none of us are going to like it. So, yeah. Now that it's not all hopeless. A, it's blanked by Rumor Mill. B, it's unique. C, there is the issue that the corp has to keep spending clicks to dump into it, which means that basically both players are playing with 1 click less. So it's kind of like a reverse Akasha Serene. There's also the issue that if the corp is charging this up, they are almost certainly running 3-pointers, or at least a lot of 4-pointers, or sorry, 4-2s. So when this is like one turn away from going off, then it's time to start slamming HQ as much as you possibly can, because if they're about to use this, there is certainly an agenda ready to go in their hand. So I guess that would be the best counterplay I can think of, other than like trashing it relentlessly or blanking it, is like when this is about to go off, hit HQ as much as you possibly can. But there's just I'm just not looking forward to this. After that, we've got Restore. It's a 1 credit, 3 influence operation. Install and res 1 card from archives, paying all costs. Remove all other copies of that card in archives from the game. Well, looks like I'm reusing 2 jokes today. Alright, after that for Jinteki, we've got Breached Dome. This is a 0 to res, 0 to trash, 2 influence asset. If it's accessed from R&D, the runner must reveal it. When the runner accesses it, do 1 meat damage and trash the top card of the stack. So this is a nice little cherry on top of the cycle cake that Jinteki got, especially after Obokata Protocol, where this is our new shock. Okay, like I was actually concerned about if we were going to get a replacement for shock. This is our replacement for shock, and I actually kind of like this one a little better. I mean, it's 0 to trash instead of 2 to trash, okay, but the thing about this is it still functions exactly the same for Potential Unleashed as shock did, because it's not net damage, it's meat damage, so it's a non-bow. It's like, no, it's not net damage, but it literally does the exact same thing as shock. You deal a damage and they mill a card. So just trading shocks for Breached Dome out of Potential Unleashed changes literally nothing. However, this is also more useful than shock in other decks, particularly Scorpios. This is really nice in Scorpios because it gives you a chance to remove something out of their hand and off the top of their deck. Or any other deck that isn't Potential Unleashed. This is actually better splash outside of that ID. And yeah, for the most part, it's just a straight up replacement for shock that's slightly better. It doesn't cost 2 credits to trash, but it has a slightly stronger effect. So yeah, it's the new shock. After that, we've got a new piece of ice for Jinteki. This is... oh god, no. God, do people still listen to that? Anyway, this is Sandstorm, a 2 to res, 5 strength, trap deflector ice, 3 influence, 1 subroutine. Move Sandstorms, that is the outermost piece of ice protecting another server. The runner continues the run from this new position is now running on this new server. Trash Sandstorm. And it's Ag Infusion's ability on ice. I mean, that's what it is. And maybe you'll see this pop in here or there somewhere else. I doubt it, since just like Ag Infusion's ability, like once this goes off, you can just jack out. So either have a card like Port Anson Grid that punishes you for jacking out, or just put this in Ag Infusion as just more uses of your ID ability to try to deflect people as much as possible so they can't get into your server. This also increases the need for AI cards against Ag Infusion, because they'll love running things like this and Excalibur and Mother Goddess and things like that. Ag Infusion loves ice that doesn't have subtypes, so you really need AIs against Ag Infusion. And yeah, it's Ag Infusion support, and it's a decent card. So yeah, I like it. Alright, now on to NBN cards, and actually got something interesting this time. This is AR Enhanced Security. This is a new 3-1 agenda. It says the first time the runner trashes a corp card each turn, give them 1 tag. So like how Sandstorm was Ag Infusion's ability on an ice, this is CTM's ability on an agenda. And this is pretty dangerous card, because if the corp does manage to get this scored, especially if it's already CTM, Like, this is going to make, any kind of asset spam NBN deck even more obnoxious. Or even just a not that asset heavy deck still makes all its assets a lot harder to trash. And plus, it's actually even better than CTM's ability because it's not a trace, it just automatically happens. Plus, it's whenever they trash any card. So whereas CTM's ability wouldn't affect things like if they trash it out of your hand or your deck, then this does. So this will protect things that they try to trash out of your hand too. So yeah, this is a pretty nasty card. Granted, it is a 3-1, and 3-1s are really hard to run, but I would say that in NBN, 3-1s are extra hard to run because even though this is good, this has to compete with a lot of other really nice one-pointers that NBN has. This has to compete with 15 minutes and breaking news and quantum predictive model, and even just between this breaking news and the cat, like, that's 3 really nice 3-1s that all give really nice effects. So honestly, you can't run them all. Like, you really can't run them all. So honestly, what I'm thinking with this is you have to pick, if you're going to run a 3-1, you have to pick one of those 3 choices and build your deck around that. And honestly, out of those 3 choices, breaking news is still breaking news. So that's still probably the best decision overall, but if you do make the choice to run this one, this will enable some pretty obnoxious stuff for the runner, especially if you manage to get 2 of them off. That's just mean. So yeah, someone will be playtesting this, I assure you. Alright, then we've got a new NBN current. This is Rolling Brownout. It's 2 to play, it's 1 influence, and it says the play cost of each operation and event is increased by 1. The first time the runner plays an event each turn, gain 1 credit. And this, it's not that bad. I actually kind of like this one. And obviously, if you play this card, you need to make sure your deck is very much getting its economy from assets, not events. So you need asset economy for a deck that runs this. But other than that, it's not bad. It slows down the runner. It gives you a little bit of cash. I think this might actually be a good current to run in Spark, but then again, there's also scarcity of resources to compete with that. But I think if this goes anywhere, though, it's probably got to go in Spark. But I actually kind of like this one. Is it great? No. Do I expect to see it a lot of places? No. But it might find a niche in Spark, and I would like that. And last but not least, we have Threat Level Alpha, which is a 3 to play double operation to influence. Trace 1. If successful, give the runner 1 tag for each tag he or she has. If the runner has no tags, give them 1 tag. Okay, so maybe this is least after all. Yeah, this is not very good. It's a way to tag the runner with them having done nothing, but it's trace 1. So in order for this to be useful as like a C-source kind of thing, you need to be filthy rich or the runner needs to be completely broke. So yeah, now the other thing it can do is it also doubles the number of tags the runner has, but it's like honestly, in order for that to be valuable, like in the situations, especially now and in the foreseeable future, for the runner to have an amount of tags where that would matter, they're probably already going tag me, so doubling the tags they have is probably not going to do much for you, especially if it's that God of War counter surveillance deck. That's actually really stupid to do. So yeah, this one's not seeing this. Alright, then we've got a nice new Weyland card. This is Priority Construction. It's a 1 to play, 1 influence double operation. As an additional cost to play, spend to click. Yeah, it's a double okay. Install a piece of ice from HQ, protecting a remote server, ignoring all costs, and place 3 advancement tokens on that ice. Ooh, and this one has piqued my interest, so I'm actually going to make another paper trail video about this and the other advanceable ice booster cards, like dedication ceremony and whatnot. So yeah, that's my next project. I'm going to make a whole video about Weyland advanceable ice and the cards that help it. So give me a couple days and I'll get that out. After that, we've got Fractal Threat Matrix. This is a 4 to res, 3 to trash, 3 influence upgrade. Each time all the subroutines are broken on a piece of ice protecting the server, trash the top 2 cards of the stack. So this is clearly support specifically for Scorpios. There's really no other place this belongs, and for a 4 to res, 3 to trash upgrade, that's not great. Plus, this procs for every time they break all the subroutines on a piece of ice in this server. So this is better the more pieces of ice you have in front of a server. So Glacier's not really Scorpios' thing. Milling 2 cards per ice they get through is really nice. That's certainly not nothing. But I think the only way to make this work is if you play something like that Accidents Scorpios, where you just have a buttload of like dirt cheap gear check ice, which those are pretty easy to have like 2 or 3 of them on every server. So I mean, if you've got like 3 vanillas in front of R&D and slap this behind it, if they want to get into R&D, they have to mill 6 cards, which means as Scorpios you will almost certainly find something that you really want to remove from the game in that pile of 6. So I think it might help create another spin-off variation of Scorpios, because there's the Accidents version, there's the Marcus Batty version. This might enable a 3rd version of just recurring this and having a whole bunch of super dirt cheap gear checks that you can easily stack. And it might be worth testing, because then you can use that 3-1 public agenda that mills people cards as well. So there might be something. I don't know how good it'll be, but I'd like to test it. And for the very last card in the entire Red Sand cycle, hot damn, Quandary made some gains.
Quandary.
Picture ball, dude!
Conundrum.
This is Conundrum. It is an 8 to res, 4 strength, no influence, neutral code gate. It has +3 strength if there is an installed AI, and it has 3 subroutines. The runner trashes an installed program, the runner loses a click, and end the run. So this is pretty much an anti-AI Enigma on steroids. That's basically what this is. Now it should be pointed out that while 8 to res is not cheap, but this is a neutral, very potent piece of anti-AI ice that costs no influence. So if you're running an AI-dependent deck, this could show up anywhere. And that's probably the point. Because now if this, when you do finally get this resed, this is a 8 to res, 7 strength, 3 sub piece of ice. That is very, very nice. And it ends the run, and it makes the runner trash program. So yeah, if you can get this up and running against an AI deck, it will absolutely cause them problems. And that might be more important than we think with all the God of War nonsense running around right now. It's a very solid, very respectable piece of anti-AI ice. So if the more popular AI nonsense gets, the more popular this is going to get. Every faction has their own little anti-AI stuff, but so you don't have to run this if you've got like Whoredoms and Swordsmen, things like that. But if the meta is soaked in Faust and God of War and Mammon and what the hell ever, this is a pretty tempting option. So yeah, do not count this guy out. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the finale of the Red Sand cycle. And I gotta say, I liked it quite a bit. There's a lot of new, interesting, cool stuff popping up. There's some really powerful cards going around. There's a lot of welcome replacements for things that are cycling out. NBN didn't do so well this cycle, and I'm okay with that because I freaking hate NBN. It also shows a little bit into what the design philosophy of the R&D team is like, because as you can see, especially with this pack, actually, that they are seemingly becoming more devoted to making sure that there are readily available counter cards to problem strategies to all factions. So things like having more answers to asset spam, having more answers to AI, that is definitely a good thing, and I like that they're going in that direction. There's the whole remove itself from the game clause on some cards. So, yeah, we're definitely seeing where the design team is going, and I like where it's going. So I'm very interested to see what Boggs has got in store for us in the next cycle. And thank you and good night.